Will Quant repeat its 2021 catalyst that launched them to all-time highs? These are the questions that you guys are asking me on a regular, especially even in direct messages, DMs on X, email, you name it. We're going to get into all of it, why it matters to you, and some of these other key updates from the Quant network. Consider smash that like. Let's get into all the material here in a bit. Here we go. So first thing is recognizing this, and let's talk about it. So for one, it's this right here. Quant reached its all-time high of $428.38 on September 11th, 2021, and it was driven by a combination of factors that fueled its price surge. So for one, it was Overledger 2.0.5. It was that release. The launch of 2.05, Quant's blockchain interoperability platform, was a significant catalyst. The upgrade itself enhanced universal interoperability, enabling seamless connections between various blockchain protocols and supporting, of course, stablecoins, DeFi, NFTs, and even ERC20 and ERC721 assets for clearing and, of course, settlement. The payment API further simplified multi-DLT transactions, boosting enterprise adoption. You also have to keep in mind there was major exchange listings at that time. QNT's listings on major exchanges like Coinbase and Binance back in 2021 significantly increased its accessibility and trading volume. For instance, its listing on Coinbase in June of 2021 and Binance on July 30th, 2021 drove trading volume from a daily average of 9 million to a peak of 740 million on September 6th of 2021, attracting, of course, more investors. There was, of course, the thing that's referred to as the Quant Developer Program. Again, a lot of people forget about some of these things, but it was the introduction of the Quant Developer Program incentivizing developers to, of course, build on the Overledger platform, which fostered ecosystem growth. Active developer communities, similar to those of Ethereum and Polkadot, were seen as a sign of a thriving network, boosting investor confidence. The other part I want to jump into, but I don't want to dismiss, is broader market sentiment. The 2021 crypto bull market, with BTC and Ethereum reaching new highs, created a favorable environment for altcoins like, obviously, QNT, and its price surged from $17.95 in January to $184.44 by August 23rd, 2021, riding the market's upward momentum. Could we see that again with QNT? Which brings us to this. Quant will always reference interoperability. Hence that whole thing of interoperability and that CBDC narrative. Quant's focus on blockchain interoperability and its work with central banks on digital currencies, for example, the Bank of England CBDC prototyping, well, that positioned it at the time as being a leader in a high demand sector, further driving interest and investment. So these factors, combined with whale accumulation and high address activity, as noted by sentiment, created, of course, a perfect storm for QNT's price to skyrocket to its all-time high. Now, with that said, think about what I just mentioned. And now, think about this. Is Gilbert Verdian's statements. Let's jump into it and why it's such a big deal. Because sometimes people just don't remember or were never around for when these things happen. Let's take you more into this. So for one, it's this. Straight from Gilbert. And you see here, again, this posted literally on August 13th, just a few days ago. He says, legacy banks are losing the digital race, but regulated stablecoins could flip the script. Traditional banks are experiencing a digital drain from 2019-2024. Deposit share fell from 84% to 80%, costing billions in profit and return on equity, according to that KPMG report. Regulated stablecoins or tokenized, fully collateralized, fiat-pegged digital currency offer a way forward. They bring programmability, instant settlement, multi-network interoperability to traditional banking. Banks can issue regulated stablecoins retaining deposits. And notice that Gilbert highlights retaining deposits. He bolds that. So he says, on their balance sheet while offering superior digital money experience by combining customer protection, trust, and regulatory safeguards people expect from their bank with their money. Right. This part about trust. Quant's creating the internet of trust. So I want to jump down to this part where Gilbert mentions the bottom line, because in reality, that's what's most important for you. Regulated stablecoins are the gateway to programmable, real-time, interoperable money and a path for banks to modernize services while retaining trust and regulatory protection. And he mentions, discover how Quant Network, yes, Quant Network helps banks meet this need with their technology. Okay, so why is he posting this and why now? Well, it leads us to this. Shout out to Tokenicer for another key finding. He points out in 2023, he thought QNT had the perfect year, right? Some people point out it was 2021, right? The perfect storm. So a perfect year, perfect storm. We saw Project Roslyn and other CBDC pilots inspired by like SELA and EKRW. By then, 2024, Tokenizer was proven wrong. The UKRLN brought the biggest commercial bank DLT infrastructure yet orchestrated by Overledger. But there's a narrative that exists. People will say, price didn't reflect that. Right. But you had to build things. I mean, even in the real world, think about this. Yeah, we're talking about tokenized assets, but even in the real world, when something is built, will the price jump up on anything being built? Can you think of one single thing out there, for the most part, hear me out, where something is in the process of being built, literally the stilts, right? Laying out that dirt. Does the price of any of that stuff really go up? No. It's when commerce happens, right? Absolutely. Follow me a little bit more. As Channing would say, shout out to our brother Channing. He's always saying, follow me, follow me. Yes, follow me. Because when we get into it, it says, now it's 2025, and I've learned to just shut up. I love it. We are a little over halfway through the year, and announcements have been damn near unbelievable. Pardon the language. Powering Oracle's blockchain infrastructure. Partner with Euro Central Bank for Digital Euro. And by the way, better believe when ISO 222 full mandate for the whole world, not just here in the United States, but the whole world. Again, Christine Lagarde, her call to action. It's in the legislators, it's in their, balls in their court to get this done. I really truly believe that you're going to see some things for Quant, and I could be wrong, but it just makes sense if you reference 2021's market, because that was a speculative market, and compare it to now. Whoa, we're getting clarity. In some cases, we already have it. Would clarity be the disruptor of the 4-year cycle for Bitcoin and Ethereum? Shout out to Rue and Crypto Future 99. Rob, we discussed this on the private Patreon on Thursday night, because in reality, it's all about liquidity, is it not? And if it is all about liquidity, where would you have new forms of liquidity? Would BTC and Ethereum be disrupted with their 80 to 81% dominance because we would finally have a utility run? And again, you can't really cite or reference things that haven't happened, at least yet. Back to Quant. Because in the process of doing so, what do you see here? Even the release of Overledger Fusion requiring QNT utility. My goodness. How long did people say that QNT token wouldn't be used? Bank of England RTGS renewal to fit DLT use. Bank of England emphasizing DLT interoperability. All this in the middle of a bull market? Things have been or never been more exciting. And I would agree with them on that, and especially the slogans of the infrastructure of money, because they are part of programmable money. Back to Gilbert Verdian, he points this out literally August 11th, 2025, he says, what we need to help accelerate cybersecurity effectiveness is to use AI to ingest all the machine, behavioral, security data into an enterprise, understand the overall posture of how that all works, right? So I like this scenario. Gilbert says you can ask the AI to understand what is the current risk to my organization with use cases like tell me where I'm lacking in patching and prioritize based on impact and risk. What has changed since yesterday? Who has deviated their digital behavior the last week? Who no longer needs access to files, resources that they still have access to? Map out, for example, egress and ingress, data flows for financial or personal data. Show me anything that is out of the ordinary leaving the organization. And Gilbert points out, been exploring this AI concept since 2009, looking at network science, data science, machine learning, etc., etc. One thing that enterprise have is a lot of logs. True. And this is the importance of ISO 222. Let's take a pause to point that out. A lot of people don't realize the importance of ISO 222. ISO 222 prevents truncation of log files. If a message with a big log gets too big, right, going from like say a 500 megabyte file to maybe 10 gigs, 50 gigs, how about even a terabyte, gets truncated. And when it gets truncated, the message gets garbled up. Literally, it looks like a whole bunch of weird characters, Chinese characters, or Russian characters, right? Or their particular alphabet. It's all gibberish, and you only get little snippets of the message. Think about how this applies to what Gilbert's saying right here, because ISO 222 itself prevents that. Therefore, messages flow. Time is money, right? Receiver and sender, not the other way around. Anyway, tools, data, like it says here, those resources, they've been implemented so many enterprises logging CM, EDR, XDR, DLP, cloud security tools, but they're still siloed. With the new AI and security tools evolving so rapidly, look forward to see what the industry comes up with, right? Especially when it comes to effectiveness and cybersecurity. Now, here's what's good. Shout out to Quant Papa for the snippet. There was this webinar that happened recently. It was hosted by Innovate Finance and moderated by Adam Jackson, Chief Strategy Officer. It had panelists like Gilbert Verdian, and you also had some of these other people. But you also had Renuka Rollins, who is the Government Affairs and Policy Manager over at Revolut. Remember how we point out that Revolut has, at least to our knowledge, 25,000 QNT? Here's why this is important. The 13th of August update from the Quant Network. Quant Network points out some of this about this update, and they specifically point out that Fusion, right, Quant Overledger Fusion 2.5, they point out that Fusion activities continue at pace. And they also point out this right here, they're working in regards to the open source connector, and it's been trialed very successfully. And look at this, releasing specification connectors for EVM, because let's face it, even with a lot of talk about, for example, with XRP, you have, and some of you guys in the comments have pointed this out, like Max Axelar has interoperability too. Right, they do. And I understand that's the chosen one for the XRP ledger, especially for EVM. But then there is this whole thing of back to Quant recognizing some of that, right? So now you see EVM once again mentioned, and you also see Hedera and even SUI being mentioned. Again, connectors that have been built. We, as in Quant Network, made specification as simple as possible to ease the developer experience. We had a related discussion point to make regarding the specification, and here it is. The decision point: should our open source connector specification be built for Quant's DLT agnostic data model, blockchain specific data models, or both? I would lean towards they're going to do both, but I can't answer that. But they do have a decision, and the decision is that Quant Fusion will support both. So there is the answer, allowing all the benefits for each data model, and it's the next steps for this. So when we get into the next steps, they have a big thing here about, for example, what they look to do on public and permissionless, or public and permission blockchains and DLTs. And it's all brought to us here. And if anything, they might wipe some of this due to NDAs. So, don't get used to seeing all this, but whatever the case be is the next steps. And again, if you think about what we just talked about for the 2021 positive catalyst that led to all-time highs for QNT, do you feel as though that this kind of matches up in a way? It's a different form of technology, but do you feel as though that this matches up? And if you've been paying attention, I think the answer is yes, it kind of matches up. So we continue quant fusion developments and testing on both the multi-ledger rollup and network of network sections. Further updates will be provided. That's big. And again, development updates. The 4th of July, the 11th of July, 24th of July, fusion architecture. Also, all these other particular updates that we mentioned, EVM, Hedera, SUI, that's pretty big deal. And then let's bring you over to here because Gilbert Verdian posted this on August 12th about the significance of the introduction of a new generation of layer 1s, which, by the way, he cites Circle and Stripe. Okay? So that's interesting to see Stripe because, again, Stripe builds programmable financial services, and who better to help out with that than programmable money from the Quant network? Gilbert posts this. He points this out too. We are seeing an institutional play and evolution of blockchains aligned with Quant's mission of enabling institutions to safely and securely transact on any layer 1. So if you think about it, it's like, I think it's literally this simple. When you think about the significance of layer 2s, those roll-ups, why not just go with an all-in-one solution? Quant brings that. And if you think about it, they're the only ones that provide that type of solution because it's literally, with their patent and their technology and their standard, a quant overledger fusion 2.5, a layer 2.5. You don't think that's game changer? Time is money, always has been. You can eliminate so many costs by going with the quant over ledger network solution, in this case fusion. Take you further into this, I want you guys to understand that there is something here, and like he points out, as in Gilbert, timing that we released Quant Fusion's open source connector specification, been trialed very successfully, and within days of releasing specification, connectors for EVM, Hedera, and SUI had been built. They can easily add Circle's ARC and Stripe's Tempo to Fusion Layer 2.5 rollup and network for institutional interoperability of digital assets with digital money. So this right here should be one of your main key takeaways, because before, in the past, it always was like, well, there's this project, there's that project, so on and so forth. But if you're looking at it from the perspective of, I'm Stripe, who am I going to go with? That in itself sets Quant Network apart from the competition. Do we see that in reflection based off of price? Could very well be. How soon would that be? Is that going to be at the end of this year? I don't have the answers to that. I have a lot of you guys in the comments always ask me that. Not a fortune teller. Just bring your research. Do with it as you please. But I do think this is a huge deal that's not being mentioned enough. Let's take you more into this, okay? And I do agree with Gilbert. He's excited to see how this progresses and grows, right? If anything, I'll retweet this. A lot of people are already seeing it. I want to jump over to this. This is a little bit more of that excitement. Posted August 11th, UK's digital finance revolution from vision to reality by 2035. Now, some people, they're like, oh, you lost me. Some people click out, oh, 2035, you just shut it off. Shut the whole thing off. You got to hear it. You got to see it. So as you see here, talks about some of these things, okay? So for one, in a recent Innovate Finance webinar, industry leaders dissected, and again, remember the ones that is a participant, Revolut? So dissected the Chancellor's Comprehensive Reform Package, 25 documents released from July 2025 from the Treasury, FCA, PRA, Bank of England. The consensus, the vision is bold, but execution will determine whether UK leads or follows. Yeah, I get that, but there's urgency. And again, back to Christine Lagarde, because she pointed out the urgency for the regulators, the legislators, you name it. Okay, especially in the European Union and so on. Real action is what will cement the UK's fintech longevity over the next 30 years. Right. And oh, by the way, and Channing, shout out to Channing, King Channing. Give Channing a follow. Seriously. You should follow Channing. You want constant quant updates like literally almost every day? Channing's your channel. I used to be that channel. I'm not that channel anymore. You know, I cover a lot of things. Give King Channing a follow. Seriously, go to YouTube, type in @King Channing. If you want consistent quant updates, he's your guy. But anyway, the bottom line is this. It's mentioning that longevity for 30 years. So Channing, again, and I have pointed out that they have these patents, right? We've done the deep dives about this. Those patents are typically 30 years. Notice that he mentioned like 30 years. Why always 30 years? Okay? As you see here, Gilbert Verdian points out the sentiment of it all. Government is working on creating new regulated activities for crypto assets, such as operating crypto trading platform and stablecoin issuance. But market participants are keenly aware that regulatory clarity elsewhere has already created competitive advantages. All right? So, again, how they balance it all, what kind of interoperability you have, we can get into all that, but I want to point out the missing pieces, because that's what I do, right? Connect dots. So, despite the comprehensive nature of the reform package, some critical areas receive limited attention. Financial fraud, despite being a major industry concern, was largely overlooked. RegTech, which could streamline compliance and reduce costs, received minimal focus. My goodness, despite its potential. But the treatment of open finance also represents a misled opportunity, while mentioned in the strategy documents about concrete progress remains limited. With the FCA expected to deliver a roadmap by March of 2026 for industry moving digital speed, such timelines. And again, 2035. So people don't want to see these things about 2035. They just want to see now. All right, here is why you shouldn't be in so much doubt. Right here. Gilbert Verdian pointed out by 2035, digital finance will be the norm, and this year it will be seen as the catalyst. The last time we had these big positive catalysts was when? And here's your answer. So I would say boil it, mash it, stick it in a stew. Because what you're going to see here is very, very important. And what is it? It's this. Basically, on September 11th, 2021, as shown here, Quant went to $428.38. That was all-time highs for QNT. All right? You have to keep in mind when it comes to this, all right, September is usually a pretty bad month if you reference the 4-year cycles. But altcoins or alt tokens like QNT really did something. I'm not saying that we get to all-time highs in September. But I do think that when you look into what Gilbert's mentioning here and everything presented and what we mentioned in regard to all these specifics, it's a big, big deal to say the least, because you will come to the conclusion that, guess what? Very limited supply, ISO 222 mandates, and so on and so forth. Well, at the end of the day, it is a great infrastructure play. And like it points out here, talking about the whole thing of not just the missing pieces and not just 2035, but this one. And I should have highlighted this earlier. It's the catalyst. Gilbert Verdian observed during the webinar, because again, I showed you that key thing about specifically Revolut. By 2035, digital finance will be the norm, and this will be seen as the catalyst this year. As in 2025, not 2035. The question isn't whether digital transformation will happen, it's whether the UK will lead it. I know I'm restating that, but I need to pound that home. And again, government has set an ambitious course. Now comes the harder task, turning vision into reality, one milestone at a time. For UK's fintech sector, the next 12 months will be crucial in determining whether these bold plans translate into the competitive advantage that will define the next decade of financial services. So again, don't ever forget that off a positive catalyst, as we shown and explained at the beginning of this video, caused Quant to go to this. Well, I understand that 2021 bull market was the last market was the bull market of positive catalysts and speculation. But we are now entering into the era of clarity. Would we finally see utility be put into motion? And if anything, Quant would lead that charge due to what, everybody? Due to specifically just that clarity, standards, and being the internet of trust moving forward. So do me a solid if you listen to the entire outline and simply type in this key word into the comments. And it's actually 3 letters, not a word. ATH, as in all-time highs. Do you believe it'll be 2025? Do you believe that we'll get past previous all-time highs? I'm actually interested to see what you guys think. Or do you feel as though it won't happen this bull market? It will happen next. For me, I don't know. Again, I'm going to tell you what to do. I don't know if I ever really sell my QNT because I have it tied with XRP as being the ones that are going to have the highest value. So that's my own 2 cents, and I'm sticking with it. So again, do me a solid, type that I just mentioned, and go follow Channing or King Channing. You'll be glad you did for consistent quant updates. Saying goes, know what you have, know what you hold it. The research trumps fell at 110%. May the Lord Jesus bless you all. We'll see you on the next one. How would you like to earn an extra $100, $200, or even $500 a day, even more than that? I have many friends that are earning money every single day trading futures on BTCC. It's a simple process, and even if you don't want to learn how to trade, you could follow a trader on the site and let him do the trading for you, and you will earn according to his trades. Sometimes I follow All the Money by Q, and his trades earn me money. He has a 93% success rate, and he earns a great percentage. So even if you don't know how to trade, there is a way to make money. But I suggest learn how to trade. Earn you some extra money on BTCC. It's easy, you don't have to KYC, and you don't have to use a virtual private network VPN. This is a wonderful site. They've been around since 2011. Give them a shot. Also, when you earn that extra money, you can store that on your Decent wallet. The Decent wallet was not affected by the recent XRPL debacle, where the backdoor of many wallets was open and there was a breach. So Decent wallet was not affected by that. Decent wallet is as safe as you keep your seed phrase. It's a wonderful product, and you can get the discount by using the link. It's the only way to get the affiliate discount, and that is to use an affiliate link. So that link is popping up on the upper right side of your screen, and it is the one that you will use. You will also get free shipping. Pick you up a Decent wallet today. Secure your assets. If you don't have them stored in a wallet and sitting on an exchange, then you're at risk. So pick you one up today. Thank you.